You were telling me about another drink very linked to Benevento.
Yeah, la strega.
La strega, yeah.
The liqueur, la strega. I have actually taken English students to visit the Museum of La Strega, which is very beautiful.
Hmm.
So when you walk in, there is a table, a good 7 meters long table with all the different spices that go into the liqueur.
Right.
46, something like that.
Oh my goodness. Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Listen in as we journey to some of Italy's most beautiful places in the company of those who know them best, the families who grow grapes and make fabulous wines. Through their stories, we will learn not just about their wines, but also about their ways of life, the local and regional foods and specialities that pair naturally with their wines, and the most beautiful places to visit. We have a wonderful journey of discovery ahead of us, and I hope you will join me. Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Today we travel, well actually not very far from my home here on the estuary in Devon, to the nearby cathedral city of Exeter to meet my guest, Valentina Todino, researcher at the University of Exeter, translator, Italian teacher, documentary maker, musician and singer with her group Triche Balacche, and the founder and curator of the Italian Cultural Association here in Exeter. Valentina is currently working with Refugee Support Exeter, helping refugees to assimilate and settle in our area. I've been studying Italian language and culture with Valentina for the better part of 2 decades. I can't believe it's that long already. And I've learned a great deal from her and really enjoyed the many cultural events that she's organized, including the regular showing of Italian films, often with expert commentaries, musical events, food and wine events. Valentina's done a great deal to bring Italy and Italian culture to Southwest England. So thank you very much for being my guest today, Valentina, for all that you do. And how are you? Come stai?
Oh, hi, Mark. Ciao. Thank
Ciao.
you for having me. It's really nice to be here with you, and thank you for the wonderful introduction.
Well, Valentina, you do so many things here, and I know how busy you are. So thank you for taking the time to have our chat. I would have preferred if we were having a glass of wine together and maybe something nice to eat as well.
Yeah, me too. That will happen.
But we'll do that soon. We'll do
That
that
will
soon.
happen.
Valentina, let's start at the beginning. Tell us about your childhood, because although you're very much from the South, you feel from the South, you were actually born in the north of Italy.
Yeah, exactly. So, a bit of a mix, really, because I was born in Piemonte, in a small town called Novi Ligure. Well, I guess it's a bit bigger now, but Novi Ligure, where my parents, that originally are from Campania, from a small village on the hills outside Avellino, between Avellino and Benevento, they were working in Piemonte. So they moved there where all us children were born, and I was the last one to be born. And after 2 years of living there, the family, the parents, decided to move back towards south. So, well, we actually moved back and settled in a town not far from Rome called Cisterna, which is not at all the most amazing town, but it was lovely. The area is really lovely. It's surrounded by some of the Apennines, some beautiful old medieval villages, the gardens of Nympha, and very close to Rome, about 40 minutes away on the train. So quite a useful location, because it also allowed the family to go back often to Campania for the weekends, where the grandparents were. So from where we were to my grandparents' house, about 2.5, 3 hours driving. So it's a trip that we could do over the weekend, sometimes even in one day, just to go down and see the family. And that's where I kind of spent most of my summers.
So, although you were born in the north, your family had moved up there for work, is that right?
Yes.
And then came back down to south of Rome. But you always had that strong connection with where your family was from, with your grandparents in this part of Irpinia between Avellino and Benevento. Well, we'll talk about that area a little bit more detail later. Now, Valentina, you speak perfect English, better English than me, I think. Was that your subject when you studied at university, and was that in Rome?
Yes, yes. I studied at University of Rome, La Sapienza, and my subjects there were actually English literature and Russian literature, which I forgot to all my Russian.
Uh-huh.
But I was very enamored. I was really interested in English literature, which is partly the reason why I eventually visited these parts of the world and settled here.
Well,
Yeah.
tell us about that story, Valentina. So you came down to live in a very remote part of La
Mm.
Brughiera, Dartmoor, this wonderful,
Yeah,
remote, wild place just outside of Exeter.
absolutely. Yeah, that was a long time ago now, about 22 years ago. And I moved here, well, partly because, as I was saying, really wanted to be immersed in. I had all this idea of somehow, the romantic English countryside really fascinated me. And I also met someone that then became the father of my children, and he lived in this area of Devon. I met him in Italy, and he said, "Oh, come and visit. It's so beautiful." And I came, and I saw, and I never went back. Basically, that's what happened. I found that Devon is got everything that that I really enjoy, which is a beautiful natural landscape. Dartmoor is one of my favorite places, and also the sea, the coast of Devon, the vicinity, proximity with Cornwall. It's just so stunning. And the lifestyle, the pace of life.
That's so interesting, Valentina, because it's so different from Italy, where we are
Mhm.
here in Devon. But you see, and you still feel that attraction for life here in Devon.
Yes, I thought, with time things change. And also, it's, as you say, Mark, it's very different. So when I arrived in Exeter, there were barely any foreigners, let's say. And there weren't any, I think there was only maybe the main art center, the Phoenix Art Center, was the only place where there were sometimes some cultural things happening. And it's so changed now. It's become, I wouldn't say metropolitan, but it's so multicultural now. But when I arrived, there was nothing. So it was, on one side, it was very shocking to such a big change from me, because at the time before moving here, I was actually living in Rome there for, for a few years while I was at uni, and then working around the area. So I was coming from quite a big, very lively city. And also, as you probably know, Mark, in Italy, there is, the people live the life outside, and the square and the evenings are full of, like, people going
La
to
passeggiata.
Zagata, and there's, the ice cream place, and there's the bar, and there's the music
Yeah.
happening, and there's the exhibition, and then, there's all sorts of things. While here, I remember thinking, after a while, 6 o'clock, and there's nobody around.
Yeah, yeah, no, very, very different, especially from Rome. My
Mm.
story is not dissimilar, Valentina, although it was much earlier. I came over just when I was 19 years old, only for 1 year, and many, many years on, I'm still here because I met my wife Kim then. So
Mm.
this is how things happen. We don't always end up where we ever expected to be.
No, no, not at all.
But your children have grown up here, Leo and Sophia, growing up,
Mhm.
and Leo now at university. Have you been able to maintain and impart their Italian heritage to them? And how have you done
Yeah.
that?
Well, it takes a lot of work because you have to keep on the top, especially with the language. So they grow up, of course, their father is English, he speaks English. I try to speak in Italian to them as much as possible, but because they were so exposed to English as well, they always, well, they reply to me in English most of the time. But because I kept on talking to them in Italian, finally now we have, they can have proper conversation. They can speak Italian quite fluently. They understand Italian very well. And of course, we kept contact with with my side of the family, we go very often back to visit my family in Italy.
And
Uh,
they have cousins.
they have cousins, and they feel very proud to be Italian. I think for Leo, it's been a way to say, "Oh, I can cook really well, and I know everything about Ferrari and all that kind of thing because I
Yeah,
am half
sure.
Italian." So
Yeah,
it's a way.
yeah,
Is I think yeah, they feel very strong their Italian identity. I would say,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Um,
speaking of Italian identity, Valentina, I just want to mention a very important project that you did, which is the documentary you made about Italians living in Exeter, really
mm,
interviewing people from a whole range of different activities, professions, lives, ages, and who shared with you their stories. Tell us just a little bit about this project.
absolutely. Well, this project brought me to then do the job that I'm doing now with migrants and refugees. I have always this keen interest in finding out people's stories of migration. So why does people move around the world? We always done this, and what are the reasons why we settle in one place instead of another? And what is it that we bring with us? So my background is in translation. I did a master in translation here at University of Exeter, and I developed this interest in self-translation. So how does people, when you move to another country, what ways do you find to define yourself as an individual, but also inside the community that is hosting you? So, for example, as you were saying before, for me, this way is the music. I sing Italian songs, I play Italian music because it's some kind of ways of translating myself to other people, saying, this is me, this is what I bring. So, yeah, I decided, well, I was working in the Italian department at the time. I was doing some supply teaching in the Italian department, and I worked with Professor Danielle Ipkins. She's specialized in Italian cinema. We decided that we would have liked to do some video interviews with Italians living in Devon. And so, yeah, we interviewed a few people. These videos are on YouTube. And yeah, so yeah, we did these interviews, we started these interviews. And then from there, we actually continued this project. And the project became kind of an archive of video interviews of Italians first, and then of all migrants speaking other languages living in Devon. So we were interviewing people in their own native language. And then we worked with students in the department, students of languages, of course, to help with the interviews and then subtitle them. So there is an archive, there is a website with an archive of stories of migration to Devon. And the project was called Transcultural Devon, and it's now become a module for the Department of Modern Languages. I'm still interested in the more research side. I'm not really part of the module as such.
In the documentary, I remember, was so fascinating and such a important social history, documenting people who have really made brave decisions to move to new places and create a life, but also wanting to maintain ties and identity with where they came from. Valentina, how important is food and wine as a means for Italians to maintain ties with where they come from and with who they are?
Very, very important. I think it's, well, fundamental for us, yeah, as Italians to meet and to be together through food and wine, of course. But mostly, the food is like the main thing. I hung out sometimes with a few Italian friends here, apart from the Italian Cultural Association that's bringing many Italians to our social events, but I got closer group of friends with which I meet sometimes, and it's all about the food, what we're going to cook, what are we going to eat. And then there's people from northern Italy that will have their favorite recipe, and then we have discussion about how that dish is then made in different parts of the countries, and it's all about food. It's all about food.
I think when you're with Italians, whenever anyone is, we often turns very quickly to talking about food
Yeah.
in very precise and detailed ways. So
Mhm.
let's turn in precision and detail then to a little bit more about where you're from in Campania, about, I guess, let's talk about some of the foods that link you to a place, to family.
I was thinking, this morning I was thinking, what I'm going to say to Mark. And something that relates me to this time of the year, I remember, something that I really miss is cooking the chestnuts on the fire. So I remember my granddad, they would put have the fire on in the house, and they would have this pan with holes at the bottom, and he would sit there in the evening just cooking his caldarroste, the chestnuts on the fire, and then he will have a glass of aglianico, and we would say, I remember sitting there with him, and in the evening maybe they would tell me stories.
And you're
And
peeling the hot chestnuts with your fingers, and they're almost burning you as you're peeling them. And you have that smell of the burnt chestnuts with the sweetness of the flavor in the mouth.
absolutely, I love that memory.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. And I
yeah.
can imagine washed down with just simple tumblers of the local wine, in this case, of course, one of the
Mm.
great grapes of Italy, Aglianico.
Yes, yes. So, yeah, memories of Aglianico are stuck in my memory because my uncle is still producing it now, just for family, just for literally for his family, his close relatives. I remember the time of the year in which the grapes are picked, and then I remember they would press the grapes in this big barrel with their feet. I still
Uh-huh.
remember all that. They
Yeah.
don't do that anymore, but until a few years ago, that was the way they would do it. Another memory that I have that is not much related to food. Well, yeah, the two memories. One is related to, unfortunately, the killing of the pig. It's not very overly
Oh,
pleasant.
of course. Yeah, La Mantanza.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I remember that.
Yeah. So the family would have kept a pig and
Yes.
killed it themselves, or a butcher came to the house to kill it?
I don't remember that detail. I don't have that detail, but I remember that it was a big kind of ritual. The whole family would be
Yeah, sure.
there, and then with the hot blood, they would make this sanguinaccio, which is
Oh,
like
yes.
black pudding, and they would
Yeah.
mix the blood with cocoa powder and sugar. And the smell, I still, that's something that's stuck in my memory. I can't eat that because the smell was so strong.
So it was mixed with
Yeah,
cocoa
yeah,
and
yeah,
sugar.
yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
It
Amazing.
was like a sweet pudding or something.
And the prosciutto and the salami would have been made. So salting the meats to cure them and
Mhm,
stuff them in skins to make the salami,
mhm.
the very different types of
Yeah,
salumi,
for us it's la lonza.
la
Yeah.
lonza. Where does that come from? Is that from the neck?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. It's kind of similar in taste to prosciutto, but it's more spicy most of the time.
Uh-huh.
Probably it's the neck. I don't know. I'm sorry. I
No, I'm sorry, I can't remember lonza. I think actually the neck is the capicollo.
Yeah, 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 which is the same as La Lonza for us. For
Oh,
us,
okay.
from my
Okay.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Uh-huh.
could vary in different parts of Italy. The name might be the
Yeah.
same, but the parts might be different. Yeah, so
Sure.
Capicollo, yeah, yeah,
So we're really talking about this time of year,
yeah.
Valentina. You're remembering the wine, the grapes being harvested, treading the grapes with feet, the making of wine, this transformation of juice from the grapes through
Mm,
fermentation into wine. And I guess a young wine would be something that would be drunk along with those roasted chestnuts.
yes, yes. And cheese
Uh-huh.
made of sheep milk, especially.
Okay, a
Yeah,
pecorino.
yeah, kind of
Yeah.
pecorino, very much more similar to caciocavallo. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Did the family grow vegetables? And for example, did you make the tomato paste, the conserve
Yes,
by
yes, that's
boiling?
another
Yeah.
big memory of my childhood. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. The gathering of the family to make the passata that would last for the whole year, for the whole family.
Right.
Yeah, so as a child, I would be in charge of like turning the handle of the machine that would press the tomatoes and make the juice. We had a
Okay.
little hand machine that would
Uh-huh.
separate the skin and the seeds
And the seeds.
from, yeah,
Yeah.
from the juice. So we would sit. I remember sitting on the grapes. The grapes would be fragolino grapes. So the very
Oh,
sweet,
Fragolino.
small
Yeah.
grapes. And we would sit there
Mm-hmm.
preparing the tomatoes, cleaning, washing, whatever, cutting, whatever was necessary. We did literally with the whole family. Like I remember my auntie, I remember grandmother, grandfather, everybody. So we would prepare everything. And then once the tomatoes are put in the bottles, they are left to boil in these big tins with fire for a couple of days. So
Oh, really? To really
yeah,
concentrate
well,
it.
no, they were already
Oh, they were in
in
the
the bottle. Is
bottles.
to disinfect
Yeah.
them, make
Okay.
sure that they
To
last.
disinfect it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that they last
Yeah.
for the whole winter.
The
Yeah,
whole
for the whole
year.
year.
Yeah. And other vegetables preserved sotolio?
Sì. So that was the time, well, maybe a bit earlier than now, but aubergines, sottolio, melanzane, sottolio, courgettes, of
Oh,
course, olives, everything that could be put in oil. We would do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are family members still doing these things?
Yes, some of them are. Yeah, some of them, not all of them, but some of my family, they're still doing that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And your location is actually between Avellino and Benevento. It's really straddles two great wine areas, the great wines from Irpinia, from Avellino, such as
yeah.
Torazi and also Fiano di Avellino and Greco di Tufo. But on the Benevento side, we have the Aglianico del Taborno, another great expression of
Mm,
Aglianico, and the Falanghina wines from Sannio and other white and red wines from Sannio. So you were really in a very much the heart of wonderful wine country.
absolutely, yes, yes. So you were saying from my dad's house, you can see the Taburno just in front of our house. The whole area is local, small production of Aglianico, of course. And yeah, that's the area where the Falanghina has been kind of rediscovered as.
Yeah, wonderful Falanghina from Benevento.
Yes, yes.
You were telling me about another drink very linked to Benevento.
Yeah, la strega.
La Strega, yeah.
Yeah, the liqueur, la strega.
Yeah.
Yes, I have actually taken English students to visit the Museum of La Strega, which is very beautiful. So the family Alberti in Benevento, they
Oh, okay.
own this factory
Hmm.
and they have this beautiful museum in which they explain the origin of the liquor and the production. So when you walk in, there is a table. I probably not. My memory doesn't fail me. Good 5, 7 meters long table with all the different spices that go into the liquor.
Right.
46, something like that.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Of course, the main one is saffron. So
That gives it the
yeah,
color, the beautiful
yeah,
yellow
and
color.
then all different kind of flavors and smells, and a lot of the spices come from northern Africa, of course, and that is also Benevento has been historically in pre-Christian time was one of the cities that had the most contact with Egypt.
Oh, how
In
interesting.
fact, there were, ruins of Egyptian temples, and especially the cults was the cults of Isis, which was the divinity of the underworld.
Oh my.
And from there, then this tradition of the witches have developed because apparently, again, in later times, there were some northern tribes that established themselves in the area and they kind of taken this tradition of Isis and developed it into other rituals that were considered more as witchcraft. So dancing around trees, they found
Hmm.
paintings of people dancing around these hazelnut trees. So yeah, the name Strega comes from the witch, of
Oh,
course,
good.
and the city has this very long tradition of more, legendary, of course, but also related. There's some historical and archaeological findings that relate the city
Yeah.
to this. And in fact, on the Isis temple, they now built the church of Santa Sofia. Well, not now, but in
Hmm.
Christian times, the temple, on above the temple, they built the church of Santa Sofia. So it's a beautiful city if you ever want to visit.
I've not been to Benevento, but I'd
Mm,
love to go. It does sound really beautiful.
yeah.
And I know, you're talking about some of the cultural aspects in Benevento. And Campania Campania has such a richness, even going back to pre-Christian times, to pagan times, but through the Greeks and the Romans. So we're really in an area that where Italian culture really developed the Campania Felix, this fertile Campania that was fed the Roman Empire with wonderful things to eat and drink. So it's an area, a region I really, really love visiting. I was, as you know, I was in Naples just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I always love to be in Campania. It's such a warm and friendly place. And I know that this expression of Campania, this expression of Italia Meridionale, the south of Italy, something very close to your heart and something you express in your music through Triche Balacche. Tell us a little bit about Italian folk music and southern folk music and why this is so important for you.
Yeah, it is very important for me. The reasons I was telling you before is a way of kind of expressing my identity, where what I bring with me. But I found that strong connection with this music when I was here, because I kind of missed my roots. So I went back to listen to this kind of music, and also I did a lot of research around the origins of the music, and created this, at the beginning, small group, quite a big group of people that shared the same interest. And the music that we play is related to, as you were saying, Mark, to some more ancient ritualistic music that accompanied, well, in Christian times, accompanying processions, but before that, there were pagan rituals with music and singing, and dancing, of course. There is one aspect that to me is very fascinating, and is the music of tamburiata, which is kind of a style of music played in the area of Naples. This relates to ancient rituals, and some of them are related to the Black Madonna, so the worshipping of the Black Lady. And this Black Madonna, we got a sanctuary very close to my dad's, which is called Santuario di Montevergine. But the worshipping is now dedicated to the Black Madonna, the Black Lady. But in the ancient times, the temple was dedicated to Sybilis, which was an Anatolian divinity correspondent to Mother Earth.
Oh.
And the reason why the statue is black is because the material that the statue was made of it was a black stone. So this statue was brought to Italy in pre-Christian times, and the worshipping, all the priests that accompanied the rituals, they were all eunuchs. So from this tradition that, of course, had music and singing and dancing, of worshipping this goddess, this Mother Earth goddess, this tradition was then developed in Christian times. And until now, twice a year, there are processions up to these mountains accompanied by music and dance. But because of the tradition of the eunuchs, the people that participate in these processions are mostly parts of what is now the LGBT community.
Oh.
So this Madonna is considered like the protector of the LGBT communities, which is a really interesting aspect of how we, especially in Campania in Italy, we have this very important connection between the female and the male parts of humanity, really. Well, it's a long conversation,
Yeah,
Mark.
no, that's absolutely fascinating. And I know a little bit about that tradition because we've seen that in cinema as well, in some of the events that you've put on, Valentina. So it's really interesting to hear more of that.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, Valentina, I know that you're very busy and you have a busy day today, so I'm not going to take up more of your time. We could talk on and on. I'd love to keep talking with you for another half hour, but
Yeah.
I think we've probably run out of time because I know you have things to do.
Yes.
But thank you so much for taking time from your busy day to share your story with us, to talk about how you've brought Italy and Italian culture here to Exeter, and at the same time, how you maintain your Italian roots, your Italianicity through links with family, food, wine, and music. And you've really enriched life in Exeter for me, and so I'm really grateful for that. So grazie mille.
Grazie a te.
Ci vediamo stasera.
Thank you so much. Sì, stasera a lezione.
Sì.
Ok. Ciao, Mark.
Ciao Valentina, grazie, ciao, a presto.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Please remember to like, share and subscribe right here or wherever you get your pods. Likewise, you can visit us at ItalianWinePodcast.com. Until next time, chin chin.